Hey nature photographers, it's Lee Hoy. Today's video is a very special segment for you. It's a very long one. I was the keynote speaker at the 2024 Spring Expo at Precision Camera and Video here in Austin, Texas. This actually occurred today. I had a 2-hour block and my presentation was on the making of an image. And each image is different. I go into some of the aspects in that image. I sometimes chase some rabbits. So this is a pretty long video. You may want to watch it in segments, but there's no replication. Every image is different. The things I talk about are different. So I think you'll really enjoy it. I know some people couldn't make it down to Austin for the Spring Expo, but I was the keynote speaker and I hope you're going to enjoy this. I really cover a lot of topics and a wide variety of my formula on nature photography success, where preparation plus skill times patience equals luck. I think you're going to enjoy this. Again, it's a long video. Feel free to break it up in segments. I hope you really enjoy it. I think it'll be very beneficial. The lighting is low on me so that you can see the images on the screen, and I tried my best to repeat questions from the audience, but I think you're going to find that this one's an enjoyable video. Howdy from West Texas. I'm Lee Hoy, professional nature photographer, and this is my YouTube channel, Lee Hoy Photography. I'm an OM System Ambassador, photography workshop instructor for Wildside Nature Tours and Precision Camera and Video, and contributing author for the Journal of Wildlife Photography. Well, it's about time to get rolling. It's a pretty full house. We've got a few empty seats up at the front if someone asks or wants to come in. Super excited to have you guys here today. Precision Camera's my home store. I love being here. I love teaching. If it looks like my butt's in my socks, it's because I came straight. I've been in Cuba, straight to Patagonia, to Ohio, which let's just say was the weakest of those 3 trips, and then straight here. All right, so we're going to have a good time. Today's is going to be a little more interactive than I've often done in the past, and I'll share with you in a minute here. Today I'm going to be talking about the making of an image. And so I don't like doing the same presentation over and over like a lot of photographers do. I just get bored too easy. And I know I have a slurry Toki accent, Texas-Oklahoma blend. Do not hesitate to say, we don't know what the hell you just said, Lee. You're not going to hurt my feelings, okay? And I'll introduce myself in a second, but you just say, hold on, clarify that. Because I love this. I get excited. I love to share. I love to teach. I love to talk about nature photography. And today's course is going to be primarily wildlife photography. So let's go ahead and get rolling. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am an OM System Ambassador. Very proud accomplishment. I get invited to join their team after 1 year of switching. Shot Canon for 20-something years. I'm just going to be honest, we're falling way behind in the mirrorless world. Started looking at Sony, shot Sony and Sigma art lenses and Sony lenses and Olympus, and I just, too many features for me on the Olympus, and ended up going, now we're course OM system. So travel the world, and I'm starting to do more and more OM only workshops around the world. I am the senior photography instructor for Wildside Nature Tours. And they're based out of Philly. It's all right. I'm still a Texan. So I am, I go all over and I love to teach. I love to help people capture better images than they were capturing last year. And, I go to some really cool destinations. If I'm in the field teaching, life is rocking, It's a good life. I also do workshops for Precision Camera. So I've got a few offerings and I do classes, workshops. Okay, let's all boo her. Boo! No, I'm teasing. She comes to my workshops. I'm just a smart ass. Don't worry about it. Oh, yes, I am. And my name's Lee Hoy, and let me just give you a warning. You're not in a safe space. For those of you that need a safe space, I am not one. I'll just give you a little heads up, okay? I'm also a contributing author for the Journal of Wildlife Photography. If you don't subscribe, it is the only periodical for wildlife photography I subscribe to. It is a very detailed magazine. It's quarterly, hey. And they have a really nice online presence. They have photo contests where they give away exceedingly high prizes. So if you don't subscribe, I have an affiliate link on my website. Would love for you to hop over there and join the Journal of Wildlife Photography. So, and now I've got my YouTube channel going, Lee Hoy Photography, just because I don't have enough crap to do, all right? Everybody just needs more and more and more. So I love to teach. I love to share. And let me just tell you, here's where I've been lately. Kind of a close Puma there in Torre del Paine in Chile. You can see the what used to be a guanaco right here. And then I was in Cuba doing birds and street photography. I'm not really known for my street photography. I enjoy it, and I don't get many chances because I'm not really a huge fan of cities. There's a lot of peopling in cities. Y'all may not be aware of that, but there's a whole lot of peopling that goes on there. And I live on top of a mountain out in the Davis Mountains near Big Bend. How many of you know about the observatory out there? Have you ever seen them? So when I'm sitting at my deck editing, or on my deck, when I'm sitting in my living room, I look right at the observatory. So hey, that's okay. That hopefully is not the sign for me to do my Sharon Bette Midler medley from the 70s, which you do not want to hear. So this is where I've been lately, and I've got a little mini presentation for you. This is bonus material, and just caution, it's a bit of a sarcastic kind of take, all right? So 3 presuppositions about most wildlife photographers. You ready? 3 presuppositions about most wildlife photographers based on my experience leading workshops all over the world. Number 1, you ready? Presupposition number 1, your shutter speed is too low. Oh, I can't get a sharp shot with this camera and lens. You're 73, you have an 800 millimeter, and you're shooting at 1/4 of a second. Well, no crap, Sherlock. You know, it isn't the camera gear. That's just what I'll say. Most of the time when your image isn't sharp, like I have clients all the time, there's something wrong with my camera. That generally is about like 0.03% of the time that there's a genuine camera error. So that's my presupposition number 1, because you're afraid of high ISO, because some idiot on Facebook told you can't shoot at a high ISO. All right? That's nonsense. I shoot at ISO 12.8 and higher all the time with micro four thirds. People tell me I can't, and I say, well, you might not be able to, but take a look at that. Oh, yeah, okay. All right? So presupposition number 1, your shutter speed's too freaking slow. All right? Presupposition number 2, oh, by the way, that's ISO 12.8 with OM system. So you want to tell me I can't do that? Right? Yeah. Blown up. How big is that, right? Pretty good size, isn't it? Would you be happy with that shot? Hell yeah, that's a very hard bird to get a photograph of in the Costa Rican jungle.
That's a real 8x10.
Huh?
That's a real 8x10.
Yeah, what's that? 12.8. ISO 12.8. And that's no Lightroom processing, that's only DxO Pure Raw 3. So when you're standing out there talking about, no, you can't do that. Well, I can, okay? So presupposition number 2, you haven't mastered post-processing because you don't like it as much. I judge photo competitions all the time. 80% of the images, if they knew how to post-process, would be better. Okay? It's just like a picture of Ansel Adams without the darkroom. Okay? So I don't care. People say, well, what software? I don't care. Learn it and master it. I love Lightroom because of the organizational skills. Capture One honestly handles OM RAW files better, but it has no organizational capability. And with DxO Pure Raw, I don't need it. But I don't care which one you pick, master it, okay?
What's the DxO Pure Raw?
DxO Pure Raw is for like pre-sharpening and noise reduction. It revolutionized high ISO photography for all systems. I don't care what you shoot. Is that in Lightroom? No, it's a separate, it's like you can run it as a plug-in. And you should, okay? Presupposition number 3, okay? Your field craft is limited. This is a nice way of saying the way you approach wildlife probably sucks. Probably. Because I see it all the time. My interpretation of most bird photographers with a bird. Oh, I don't know why I can't get that shot. How many of you are birders? Raise your hand proudly. I'm about to make fun of you. I want to know who you are. Okay? If you bird with a camera, you're a nightmare. Because you have no patience. Right? Now, if you've got patience, you're on your way to great birding and great bird photography. Don't pass in the night. If you're worried about your list and you want to get great images, it's not going to happen. Okay? And I was a birding guide. I quit because it drove me nuts because the mindset that there's always something better up around the corner. Some of y'all have that even if you're not a birder, right? I literally will tell people, sit your ass on that rock and you'll get a great shot. But sit, rock. Okay? All right? Now, so that was your bonus session. I told you it wasn't a safe space, right? But this is based off of years in the field with tons of clients who, with just a little bit of tweaking, their photography would really significantly improve. So, Let's jump into first so you understand where I'm coming from, what motivates me when I'm in the field. In case you can't tell, I'm a highly motivated individual. So I'm OCD. The owner of Wildside says I'm CDO because it needs to be in alphabetical order, and I won't argue that point. I'm a control freak, and I'm a perfectionist. You should try to plan a family event with me. It is brutal, right? Because I get bored so easy. All right, my philosophy. I am all about speed, changing settings, nailing the exposure, and acquiring autofocus. If I had my camera, what I'm filming right now, behind me, and you said change your aperture, I can do it without looking. Press your menu button. I can do everything on my camera without looking because I've mastered my system so I can master my photography. Okay? So I am about fast. I want to get my camera up fast. I want to acquire autofocus fast. I want to take a load of pictures. There are no bonus points for brevity in photography. Oh, you shoot at 50 frames per second? You dang right, raw, right? You do that? Oh, that's a lot of pictures to go through. Yeah, and some of them I end up with some spectacular shots. It's a real terrible side effect, right? So I'm about speed, but accuracy on autofocus, okay? If you're a wildlife photographer still shooting a DSLR, it'd be like buying a Ferrari and driving in first gear. The technology is so far past that. And listen, I understand it's money. I always tell everybody photography is nothing but money and time. That's all it is. It's like a drug addict, right? Without the creepy Walking Dead side of, well, might be a few of those, I don't know. Mastered my system. I know my system inside and out. I know the menu inside and out because I'm a control freak. How many of you have, be honest, no lying, how many of you have actually read your owner's manual all the way through? All right, there's your real nerds. How many of you actually read the footnotes too? That's the most important part of your manual. I get some people coming in, they'll say, and I'm going to pick on some of the full framers, all right? Oh, I can shoot 120 frames per second. Yeah, JPEG. Oh, yeah, see, that's a little footnote down at the bottom. On my system, I can shoot at 50 frames per second, footnote, up to ISO 12.8. All right? So the footnotes, because I had a great professor in college, the footnotes are the most important. Marketing people never talk footnotes, right? It'd be like me on an online dating profile. I look good, right? No, I'm teasing. I really don't, but I look better, right? But it's the same thing. What are you really buying, right? Then I crop less than 1% of all my images. I'm not a field rep, but I'm behind the counter for OM system. And it's fun listening to the field techs because they love to talk megapixels. Well, yeah, you need a lot of megapixels because you're going to crop the crap out of your images because your lenses are short because you spend a fortune on them, right? I don't crop my images. So A, it's not fun for me. And B, you brag about having 45, 50 megapixels. By the time you get done cropping your image, you're right back to what I have. Sound a little familiar, right? So, but that's just what drives me. I'm not saying it's wrong to crop your images. I don't enjoy that. Well, what about birds in flight? I rarely, less than 1%. I try to put the bird where I want it in the frame, then I pick the best wing position, right? Or head position. Patience always wins out. Patience wins out, okay? You want to be a great photographer, develop patience. How many of you like to do macro? Macro requires more patience than, and night sky's up there too, but macro is tons of patience. Ooh, I like that. Now I'm going to have to start dancing. It's going to get ugly. No, I'm teasing. So patience wins out every single time. You want great images? Learn to be a more patient photographer. Yeah, I shoot at 50 frames per second. I take a lot of images, but I'm also more patient. I'll sit on the one subject that can produce a spectacular image. Choose quality over quantity, right? Post-processing is just as necessary as the darkroom was. If you don't do it, you're leaving most of your quality on the table, okay? Brevity wins you no points. Nobody goes, well, I can capture that image in 10 frames. Well, I can capture that image in 3 frames. We'll capture that image. Nobody gives a crap. Nobody in a photo contest goes, yeah, but how many pictures did you take to get that? Okay, and I realize some of you don't like to cull, but with Photo Mechanic, I can sit down and cull 5,000 images, which I might shoot in one morning if I have good subjects. I can cull that in under 30 minutes. Again, when you're OCD and a control freak, buddy, you get systems, right? I'm always in pursuit of visually compelling images. And visually compelling images, there's a progression. Like I know as beginning photographers, if you manage to get a sharp shot, and somehow accidentally have it relatively exposed well, you think, oh my God, this is awesome. Just because an image is properly exposed and sharp doesn't mean it doesn't suck. Right? That's like the found. Like that's just the bare. I judge so many competitions and there's so many images that aren't even sharp. I used to give them a 0, but people have told me I'm a little too mean. I'm like, well, if it's not sharp, why do I care? That's a delete. So now I've started giving some additional feedback on unsharp shots. I'm trying to get nicer. Anticipate your settings. Most people miss shots because you're chimping. You will not see me chimp in the field except for night sky shots and occasionally macro. Chimping. Who doesn't know what? Yeah, some of y'all don't know what chimping is. It's when you're looking at the back of your camera going, hoo, 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 hoo. Nobody's ever taken a great shot chimping. Kenny Rogers said it best, there'll be time enough for chimping when the shooting's done. Just saying. He wasn't a great country singer for nothing. He knew his photography. So the reality is, quit looking down. Nothing great happens down there with photography. Other areas of life we'll debate, but photography. The action's out there. Look at it on the big screen. Most time you think something sharp on your back of your camera and you get on the laptop and go, oh, wah, wah, wah. Right? Quit chimping in the field. So what I'm doing, as soon as I take my images, well, don't you know if you got sharp? I'm pretty sure I got some sharp. I got bird tracking, I got mammal tracking. I don't worry about that, right? What I worry about is what's happening next and what the light's going to be. So I'm then, as the boat's going down the canal in Brazil, I'm like, I'm going to shoot a bird on this side, right, in this light. So what's my proper setting here? And the clients are just looking like, they're like they're in World War II. You know, well, that light and that light and that light and that light and that light are different. Well, I'll use auto ISO. Well, auto ISO was created by Satan to screw up your images, so have a ball. And I know some of you do auto ISO. No, it doesn't work. Most of the time it sucks. I've done tests. I'll be happy to show you. Okay? So the formula for nature photography success. So everything I write for the Journal of Wildlife Photography and everything I base what I teach and what I live and what I do flows from this formula. Okay? Here we go. Preparation plus skill times patience equals luck. Okay? Preparation plus skill times patience equals luck. So when you got 8 people in a row, I've had people look at my thing and go, oh man, you were lucky. No, I wasn't lucky. No, because there were 6 other people by me, they may not have got that shot. But the other elements in this. So what does this mean? Well, I can't do a comprehensive description today. Preparation is what you do before you're ever in the field. How well do you know what your subjects do? Like in the last Journal of Wildlife Photography, I had an article about flight styles of birds. Okay? You ever see like owls, when they drop off a perch, they go like this, right? So if you're planning on shooting straight out, the bird's going to go, but then you get grouse and quail that explode in the action. And like if you know that ducks, their neck gets real long and they're like, oh, I'm about to bail on this place, right? Knowing your subject behavior is preparation. I love to shoot venomous snakes, so knowing rattlesnake species. If a prairie rattlesnake is just going to keep backing up from you because they evolved in areas where there's predator and it's open ground. So you got to put something behind them, flowers, whatever, where they feel something safe behind their back. A Mojave's just going to sit there and say, just 6 more inches closer. You know, so I know how they behave, right? So anticipating your settings. I tell people this all the time. So here in Central Texas, turkey vultures, if you live near a coast, gulls, practice on them. So here's what I'll get clients to do. So there's some turkey vultures. You learn to manually expose a turkey vulture in any light, then you can start worrying about warblers, right? But everybody wants to go to the hardest little bird right off the bat, and I'm like, and they'll do like 8 shots and then walk away, and I'm like, they're not going to get better. Yeah, you know, A-Rod, great baseball players, fielded hundreds of thousands of everyday grounders. That's why they made the great plays. But y'all want to buy the expensive gear and say, well, I spent 10 grand, so I should get that shot. Well, theoretically, but you got to put the time in, right? Then skill, equipment considerations. So these guys are all out there talking megapixels and, oh boy, I got this and I got that. And I go, I do all my selling in the field where it matters. Because while you're holding a camera in here in perfectly calm conditions, well, I was just in Patagonia hiking up a cliff, shooting Andean condors at eye level with 30 to 40 mile per hour winds. I don't mean gusts, I mean winds. And that's when they go, oh, and I'm like, yeah, you should have a lighter system, it'll help, right? So Equipment considerations. Y'all come in here and you say, I need a travel tripod. I want it short and this. So the salesman sell you a travel tripod. And you come out to Big Bend to do storms with me and I go, well, that ain't gonna do crap. So you have $8,000 worth of gear on a $100 tripod? That math don't add up, folks. I know some of y'all are going, oh, my next book, How to Make Friends, is coming out next year, so. I'm the only guy on my YouTube channel that told someone to kiss my ass in the comments. I'm like, I don't write the book on how to grow your channel. Technical considerations. I love the technical side of photography, okay? I grew up, my mom gave me a Canon AE1 with a broken meter. So I had to learn the Sunny F16 rule. If only I'd have had it tattooed on my arm back then, how much better would life have been? So I had to do all the calculations in my head, okay? Which was awesome. I had to do all the calculations in my head. But the technical side should become this. You like phrases, you like memorable quotes, here you go. I'm a little smarter than I look, but that ain't saying much. You ready? Okay? Subconscious intentionality. You're saying, did that come out of that boy's mouth? Subconscious intentionality. The technical side, like, have you ever done something so many times, someone says, how'd you do that? And you go, let me think about that. Or like grandma cooking her best dessert. Well, how much of that? You know what I mean? So the technical side of photography, your exposure, particularly, it should just become subconscious intentional. You're doing it intentionally, but you don't think about it, okay? So one thing that I've done, now I have live highlight alerts on the OM system. I don't need a camera meter anymore. Get it out of the camera, it's taking up space. I really don't even need a histogram with live highlight alerts, just get it out of the way, okay? So I have live highlight alerts, all red, right? So the reason I keep doing this isn't because I have a weird twitch, but you know what, I don't even think of in terms of stops anymore. I have 1/3 of a stop as each adjustment. So a full stop is just 3 clicks. So I'm teaching people to think in terms of clicks. So if a tropic bird's flying, you're in Hawaii at Kilauea Point when the government officials finally open at 10 a.m., those lazy bastards. That's my outside voice again, wasn't it? And they're flying below you with top light coming down because it's 10 in the frickin' morning. Well, I knew that the proper shutter speed to expose with other settings was 1/4000th of a second. But I knew if a frigate bird flew by, which was a lot darker, was 12/50th of a second, and that was how many clicks? Don't even think about how many stops. I don't need to. I think in terms of clicks now, right? Which sounds a little sniperish now that I think about it, right? You know, click, 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 right on the scope. So, again, creative considerations. When you master technical so that it becomes subconsciously intentional, then you get to focus on the creative side. AI, subject detection, autofocus. Now when I'm doing birds in flight, I'm not just trying to get it in the frame. I'm trying to put it exactly where I want it. Now, I can't control head. You know, some birds, when they fly, they look awkward in some poses and great in others. Well, at 50 frames per second, I have plenty of choices. It's just like you, when someone's taking iPhone shots of you, you're like, oh my God, is that me? And you're like, you know what I mean? Same thing. And then personal considerations, like what is your passion, right? Don't try to replicate my photography, not that many people are, or Art Wolf or someone else. What are your passions? Like, I don't photograph just flowers. There has to be a bug on it. But I highly respect people who photograph flowers well, okay? I don't do portrait work at all. It's just too much peopling. But I tell you what I do. I look at portrait photographers, how they craft light intentionally inside, and then I go, how could I potentially find that and replicate that in the natural world, all right? So personal considerations, passions, and then fieldcraft. And fieldcraft is the least talked about and one of the most important topics in nature photography. How do we approach our subject? How do we approach our subject ethically? How do we approach our subject in such a way that we are giving ourselves the best chance to capture a great image? Fieldcraft is not talked about for night sky, landscape, macro, wildlife, bird photography. Most of you probably do this. You pull up in the parking lot and you piddle your ass around and you finally get all your shit in, and then you start walking out and you just see stuff. So you just set your tripod down or you just stand there with no consideration of background, light, angle, what direction is the wind coming from because the birds are going to take off and fly into the wind. You just start shooting. I was with some professional photographers. I went on just a personal trip. They were scouting for a workshop. I went to the Faroe Islands. And we're on this cliff, and there's puffins flying in and out, and the wind was really strong, and you're on like a 150-foot cliff, and my only fear is straight drops. Now, for photography, I'll deal with that. And they all stopped back there, and I came on down because I saw the cliff did this. Now, in that part of the cliff were flowers, other puffins, and green. So guess what they were shooting? Just all ocean. Now, one of them was a landscape photographer, and earlier in the trip, I said, hey, man, if you need any help, he goes, I got this, I got it. Right, brother. Then later, I was editing some images, and he goes, oh, I should have come down there by you. And I'm like, well, yeah, I tried to tell you that earlier, but whatever, bro, have a ball. So, fieldcraft is the ability to assess your setting and know, do I even need to bother raising my camera? Another one of my sayings, here's another saying, you ready? The difference between professional and advanced amateur photographers a lot of times is we know when to not press the shutter button. Okay? Patience. When you get a cooperative subject, work the crap out of it. You know one of my least phrases in the field that I hear people say? Well, I think I got that. Oh my God, they're gonna wanna move on, you know. Well, you got what? One picture of a subject, right? But what if a predator comes in a little bit? You got great light, subject. Again, you're thinking quantity, not quality. So patience isn't just sitting in the same spot. Patience is recognizing a great opportunity. I was on the wolf. How many of y'all have heard about the wolf bison hunt in Yellowstone this year? Yeah. Well, I was the first snow coach on the scene, and I paid extra to be the last. My first thought, we pull up and there's black wolves in the road, and you'll see some pictures. There's one. I get my group out. I said, lay on the road, and it was a little far away, but you know, people are excited for wolves. And then another wolf comes out, and then a third one. I'm like, And then some guy that had full frame with a short lens starts walking down because he wants to get closer. And my group knows I'll yell at people if I need to. That probably surprises you, but I'll yell if I need to. And I said, y'all stay here. I'm getting ready to go bust this dude's chops if he bumps these wolves. Bump's a hunting term for moving stuff along, okay? And so I walk over like this to say, buddy, don't. And I look down the river, and there's a bison in the river. I didn't have to see anything else, but when I glanced back, there were 3 wolves on the bank, and I looked at my group, and there was by now, there was 2 other snow coaches. I said, on me now, you know, okay, whatever. And I literally teared up because I knew I saw the wound on the bison. I thought, oh my God, do you know what they're going to get? And then I started crying again, thinking are they going to stay all day? You'd be surprised how nobody had to pee or poo and had to have lunch when there's wolves hunting a bison 70 yards away. Those bladders can hold up longer than you think, so they stayed all day. I took 17,000 images at 50 frames per second in one day. Thank God for photo mechanic, right? And I also talk about, here's another one, set yourself up for success, not failure. A lot of you get frustrated in the field because you don't set yourself up for success. You set yourself up for failure. And a lot of times you don't even realize it. You don't know it. And once you get to that point, you're like the ability to say, that's awesome, but it's not a great shot, and walk away, you've matured as a wildlife photographer. Okay? All right. Now, luck. You create luck, and you anticipate luck, and you got to be in the right place at the right time. But you have to anticipate luck. So in Brazil, we're going down a river. You'll see some of these shots, you know, and all of a sudden we come upon, there's a jaguar, and nobody else is around. So I like to go further away, so we're the only boat there. And then a second jaguar, and we're like, you know why there's only ever 2 jaguars somewhere? A little jaguar sex, baby. That's the only reason you'll see 2. And I'm like, oh my God, so we had jaguars mating all to ourselves for a couple hours. It was unbelievable. But being in the right place, the right time, but knowing where to go to do that. Put yourself in that position. All right, so let me go over our ground rules for today. I've been talking a lot already at a high frame per second. All right? So today is about, remember the topic, the making of the image. So here's what I want. I want this to be interactive. So on each image I show you, if you have, a lot of times we say hold your question to the end. Do not hold your question to the end. I would like for you to ask during each. I have more than enough images for the remainder of the time. So if you have a question about how I got it, why I shot it that way, or what I did, you just interject. You don't have to raise your hand or anything like that. And I'm probably going to repeat it so that the YouTube folks will hear what you had to say. But let me tell you about this. So I had a safari guide with me, Adrian Benz, who's with Wildside. And Adrian shoots with the same gear I have, but he's not really a photographer. Like, he couldn't teach it, save his life. He just clicks and then says, well, Lee, what should I do, right? So they wanted to move the vehicle around, and I said, do not start the vehicle. this is the spot because I'd envisioned. So I also do what I call pre-visualization before I go on a trip, right? What are some things I'm gonna be looking for? And I often like, it's easy to fall in the trap of field guide photography where you feel like you need the whole animal in the scene, okay? But sometimes by even zooming in, you can convey more of an animal's personality or the uniqueness of that specific being. One of the things about birding is we always try to put a label on an organism, and true for taxonomy and other organisms, but, oh, that's a Wilson's warbler. But how many of us would like always being referred to as a human being? Oh, he's a fine human being. Well, I'm Lee, and I may not be a fine human being, but I'm okay, I'm a decent human being, right? But, so I started, how can I treat organisms as individuals? And I think sometimes in our imagery, if we can communicate their personality and we can show little glimpses of who they are. Like you and I mean, we're both crusty old white guys, aren't we? You know, and our beauty days are behind us as much as we hate to admit it, right? But even if we just took a cross section, one side of our face, they're incredibly different. So if I took a picture of you and I said, well, there's all old white men. Well, no, not even close, right? But what's your name?
John.
John. But this is John, right? So if you take a portrait of John, and I guess your personality is probably different, mine, you're probably relieved by that. But if I take a portrait of John, I want to communicate who he is through that portrait, right? All right? So that's, why can't we do the same in wildlife photography? Okay? So in this image, I actually want to keep this beautiful matriarchal, big elephant, you know. How could I, so the light, I've got tons of images, but only one where all of this was in the sun. She was waving her ears, right, to cool off, and I had to wait for the light. So it's, and a lot of them, there might be a little shadow down here. And I originally shot it thinking black and white, but the problem with the black and white is this little bit of golden from her eye didn't show. I love black and white wildlife, but that is like, to me, power, wisdom, and serenity in that eye. Like, boy, I'd tear you up if I wanted to, but I don't need to. Like, you know, love that. Okay?
What kind of animal did you have there?
What kind of what?
What kind of animal?
Elephant, African elephant. Yeah, the texture of the skin, right? But that eye, your eyes tell your story, right? I mean, just looking right here across this front row at all the different eyes, right? The different colors, the different shapes, the brightness of our iris, right? Our pupils varies, and so they all tell a story, right? And that's true for animals. Now, why do I shoot at 50 frames per second? Because out of probably a sequence of 75 images, I had one where the moth, so this is the alpha male. I don't know if you know, but I'd submit two if I'm the younger male right here, right? Like I'd be like, yeah, dude, you're in charge, right? So at 50 frames per second, I got one where the maw was in the mouth. And that's the shot, right? I mean, you got this brush intervening up. I mean, if I were going to be picky, I could pick this apart. But look, what I love is look at how the eyes of all the other younger males, I mean, they're like, you screwed up, brother. You know what I mean? No, like that's just normal, okay? The eyes tell the whole story, right? Now, I'm on the opposite bank shooting across the river. So I didn't have to worry about kneeling. The snow's deep. But the beauty of being in deep snow, I mean, it was 25 that day, and it had been minus 38 a few days earlier, so I didn't even wear gloves all day at 25. It wasn't bad. But had we left, you know, we got some. This was near the end of the day. Shoot it. There's a reason my hand says just shoot. Right?
How far away were you behind the creatures?
Oh, whoops. So there, I'm probably about 70 yards. Now I shoot at 1,000 millimeters 5.6 with my lens, okay? With the OM system set up, okay? No tripod, I'm shooting handheld. So, yeah, I shoot at, she asked what was I, what distance? Yeah, easy for me to remember, not. So she asked what distance I was shooting at, about 70 yards. So there was a river between us. And so we just sat down on the bank, you know, found a good spot, and then we moved maybe 5 or 6 times the whole day to different locations, you know.
And what were the other numbers you quoted?
The other numbers I quoted was the focal length. I shoot at 1,000 millimeters, 5.6 usually. You know, that's how fast my lens is, or it's 800, 4.5, okay? 800 millimeters, 4.5. So I tell you that to realize, like, again, that's not crop. That's how I shot it right there. I like 3:2 ratio. 4/3 is a little too blocky for me, so I do, every image goes, so I shoot it at 3:2, just because that's what I grew up shooting. And notice, you know, I tried to clip the animal's mid-body. This little guy didn't quite cooperate. And that little guy, his head's intruding, but I don't think a crop right here would really make that. It'd look weirder up there. But good question. Any other questions on that image? So, the bee hummingbird, smallest bird in the world. I was just in Cuba. This was one of my main targets. One thing I find is that most photographers, a friend of mine, I wish I could remember who said this, because I'd give them the credit. Most photographers show up too late and they leave too early. Okay? So it'd been a full day in Cuba, and most of my clients were getting tired. So it had been kind of overcast. And we're at this backyard at a home in Cuba where the bee hummingbird and black-throated blue warblers and Cape May warblers and other cool birds are, Cuban emerald and stuff. And they all said, well, we're going back. And they all know me. They go, where are you staying? I'm like, because I saw a gap in the clouds down low. Oh, yeah, I'm staying. There are 3 other they're probably Brazilian. South American countries are all awesome, but Brazilians get a little crusty. Maybe it's the Portuguese in them, I don't know. But, and they eventually left, so I'm by myself. So even at so this isn't crop, and this is the smallest bird in the world, right? So even at 1,000 millimeters, I have what I call let's get greedy. So you take a shot, and then I don't drop my camera. And you just see a bird's head, right? And if they get comfortable, they go back to watching all the other hummingbirds because they're just mean little tits, you know? Everybody's like, hummingbirds so cute. They are the meanest little things you've ever met in your life, you know? And then boom. And I got from, well, you know, I can focus at 4.25 feet, and that's about where I was. Now, I'm not doing that in front of everybody else. Don't be the rude, you know, iPhone photographer. Your iPhones were not made for wildlife photography, okay? And the light had come out, and it was nice, warm light. And as this little bird changes its head, the iridescence, you know, hummingbirds gorge its colors created by light passing through it, not reflecting. So every time he turned his head, you got completely different colors, right? But when you're by yourself and you have a cooperative subject, get greedy. But don't get greedy like this. Drop your lens. Oh, he flew off. I don't know why, you know? I don't understand. But what I call getting greedy is sometimes dropping to a lower ISO and a slower shutter speed because you know you already got it at a higher one. So we'll get greedy, you know? And then you just, or like this, here's a big oak tree. There's a woodpecker on the side of the next tree over there, and you just walk at it. Well, no, put the tree in line with it and walk up behind it, and then. What's funny is most people think talking disturbs stuff. No predators in the wild go, I'm coming for you. I talk, listen, can you hear my voice? I'm not even using a mic that projects. This is my normal voice, okay? Talking does not, predators, but y'all do this. People who are real worried about talking, this is how they walk. Pick up your feet. Or you got a road and they're off on the sticks and the leaves. I'm like, get on the road. Use the road. Pick your feet up. You know, probably because I grew up hunting. I know about all those things, right? How to be quiet, right? So your field craft is just as important as everything else.
Do you ever use a field flash to help bring that color out?
You know, sometimes, not as much as I used to, with the ability to shoot at higher ISO. And God, yeah, I'm going to use my outside voice. I get tired of arguing with idiots that don't know about flash. And in some South American countries, there's a mindset now that flash bothers things. And I tell them, if flash were a problem, every sports figure, politician, and actress and actor would be blind. Think about it. Have you ever seen them on the red carpet? I mean, it's, well, birds, no, it doesn't. If you shoot an out and out with a flash, yeah, be selective. Maybe 10 or 12 shots and give them a little break, right? But I just, life is too short to argue with the, you know, I'll be nice. But I do like field flash, particularly if I'm at a blind. I'll often use field flash.
What's the ISO for this one?
Well, this is probably ISO 1600. When I turn on my camera, my default is ISO 1600. If you're shooting wildlife a lot at ISO 400, you're probably shooting a lot in crappy light. You know, probably. If you got that much light. Not always. You know, it just depends on the light angle and reflectivity and, your subject and things like that. But my default when I turn on my camera is 1600.
What is your default for shutter?
Well, my default for, okay. Great question, bud. What is my default for shutter? Who all's over 70 years old? Hold those hands up because you have made it. Your default should probably be 25/100th of a second. For wildlife, I have shot my 1000 millimeter to test it at 1/4 of a second tack sharp, but the bird didn't move and there was no wind. Am I going to do that much? Kind of stupid, wouldn't it? But I wanted to know what I could do. I can easily get away with 1/80th of a second at 50 frames per second, 1000 millimeters. But obviously the subject can't move. If you're younger or built like a mule and look like one, let's hope you don't, but I am. Well, I can handhold a lot slower than you. Here's what I would like for you to do. Take whatever your favorite wildlife combination is, right? And if you got a dog, dogs move too much. Your grandpa, if you got a grandpa, he ain't moving for, he's in that chair, right? Whatever it is, go outside, put him in a chair, or get a stuffed bird, and develop a database of what you're capable of in normal conditions. Normal conditions. I don't know if you've ever, anybody here, I don't even think that was English, was it? Let's try again. I know. And sometimes I don't even understand what the hell I'm saying. So, has anybody here ever been to Patagonia? Yeah, that's where I met him. I know, it's wild, small world, right? Okay. Well, if the wind's blowing 20 miles or less, our local guide, Esteban, goes, it's just a gentle breeze, okay? Yeah, well, we had more than a gentle breeze at times, right? So, what you can do in normal conditions. So I'm gonna make fun. And my clients, I give them nicknames, some of them, and so everybody knows I'm just a smart ass. And I love. Life's too short to be too serious. By God, all right. So we had ridiculous winds on an island on Santa Fe Island in the Galapagos. I've been there 6 times. Sounds like a lot. Kevin's been there 50, so I'm still a rookie, right? And there's this Santa Fe Island. There's this about 100-foot cliff, and normally Galapagos shearwaters. You know how shearwaters fly? They kind of do this, and they're kind of catching the wind thermals. They're normally way down below you, which doesn't often make for a sexy shot, right? But because that wind was coming up the cliff and over, and it was brutal. I mean, it's like lifting my lens, I'm fighting the wind at times. But what was cool is those shearwaters would come up in the cracks in the cliff, whoom, which you don't shoot them going that way. But you know what happened? When they turned to go back down, it was like they stalled because the wind was so strong. And the Sesuvium is like red and orange and green at that time. So then you're just like this, like fighting the wind. You're like, bah, 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 bah. God, holy crap, you never get this. Here's my impersonation of, now we take 14 people in the Galapagos, which isn't much compared to, if you're going Nat Geo, you're going to have a horrible, I hope you like being on the boat. But here's my impersonation of all my other clients. Oh, the wind's so strong, right? And I said, guys, this is the wind's so strong. I'm like, great, challenging climatic conditions often produce the best images. So Kevin, the owner of Wildside, got a picture of me with the birds coming up, and I'm photographing them behind him. Oh, it's so cool. Like, it's probably the best time to look because your attention's on the bird, right? So don't give in. Don't. Oh God, where'd I put my remote? This is my life. Oh, there it is. I'm not even on this thing anymore, am I? Man, did you see that rabbit? But the reality is let's just move on because now I forgot what I'm talking about. All right. Now, so I'm in the Peruvian Amazon, just, I don't know, now February. And we find this cool crested toad, forest crested toad. And I mean, that's a cool look. I love amphibians and reptiles and stuff. Well, most people, how'd they photograph it? How do y'all think they photographed it? Yeah. Standing up, right? Because there's crap on the ground in the Amazon that bites and stings and whatnot. But you're not getting that shot standing up. So there's a phenomenon. Whenever you find something, everybody goes, oh, and then they walk off. So then I wait, okay, are the praying and sprayers done? Okay. Then I grab the frog, I get a pretty leaf, because I wanted to do it before, but they're like, wait, I want to, and I'm just like, all right, take pictures. Let them get their shots, right? And then I get the pretty leaf, and I angle it. Don't lick the toads. Don't lick your fingers. Don't do that, right? Don't lick the toads. And I put it where I want. Then I lay down, and everybody's like, oh, my God, there's ants. Like, yes, I know. There's a palm tree with thorns, and I slid this leg up, and they went in this leg. I still got chunks of them in there, but I got the shot. I don't care. I got the shot, right? They were all panicky, literally like I had 27 moms standing around kind of thing. But to get low, that's a whole different shot, isn't it? So don't worry about getting, what if I get dirty or muddy? Listen, there were mosquitoes, there was humidity. Who cares if you get dirty? This pair of pants, see, you can see a little bit of green right there from kneeling in there, okay? All right. Again, troubling conditions. No attorney would even let you walk this cliff in America, okay? Where's Dawn? There's Dawn. Yeah. Your company would love to represent the people who go up this trail, right? So it's brutally steep, short, and then on a cliff. And my only fear is what? Direct high. And I said, oh, mother of God, man. And it's muddy because cattle, I'm like, I asked, do the cattle ever fall off? Oh, no. And I'm like, oh, good news, because I'll be the first. And then I see the Indian condor at eye level, and I just said, just look straight down, just look straight down. You know, you walk down maybe a half a mile, but look, eye level, not cropped. But the wind, man, there were times you're just, and the trees, it's fall in Patagonia, so the colors. But imagine having an Indian condor come along, cock his head, and again, not cropped. Not cropped. That's how I shot it. You know? Right? Now, you know much. So let me interpret how a lot of photographers take that shot. They're on the ground, 400 feet below. They shoot up, and then you take your thumb on the back dial and you do this, and you zoom in 10 times, and then you go, oh, it's not sharp. Well, no shit. You think, right? So pay the price to put yourself in the best position for success. Now, that does not mean endanger your life like I might do at times, but it means get yourself in position for the best shot you can. All right? You can.
Was this overhead or under or sideways?
That bird was probably, is that Tennessee or Texas? I'm an OU fan, and all those oranges just bleed together for me. Texas, okay, all right. Boomer Sooner, baby. No, that bird was probably like from me to him. Yeah. I was on a cliff on the level. I paid the price to get up there. Yeah. I was not quite as fleet-footed as my local guide. That's what I'll say, little mountain goat dude. What's my shutter speed? Because they're kiting into the wind, right? This image is probably around ISO 10,000, and that's probably around 1250 a second. Somewhere in that neighborhood. Because remember, they're kiting. Now, I want faster because you know what they'll do all of a sudden? It's so amazing. I mean, these guys are massive. I mean, this is one of the world's largest flying birds. They'll just do their wing like this and suddenly go like they're on an elevator. And then they'll go, or they'll all of a sudden, and what you want are those weird angles. Okay? So you still want a fast enough shutter speed to do that. Those are good questions, guys. Any others? Pro capture mode, so pro capture mode on the OM system is where you half press the shutter button, and either at 20, 50, or 120 frames per second, it starts taking pictures, but it puts them in a buffer, right? And then when you see something happen that you're not fast enough to do on your own, you fully press the shutter button, and it will record up to the prior 25 images, and then at that frame per second for however long you hold it down. You do not need to hold it down for long, okay? So what I use that for is, like, and I have a picture in here later of like the marine iguanas in the Galapagos. You know how they take in excess salt and they have to expel it? Like, it's the only time blowing snot is kind of cool. Although I saw an oxpecker pull a giant booger out of a Cape buffalo's nose. And while I was discussing, I was like, well, you don't get to see that all the time. Thankfully, right? I mean, if you're an elementary teacher, you probably do more than others. So, right? God almighty.
What was it looking for?
Which one? The oxpecker? Oh, it was going to eat the booger. I mean, it's like protein, I guess. I mean, bugs and boogers. You know what? That's what I love. Everybody's like, oh, nature's so cute. Nature is a cold-hearted. She has no compassion, no sympathy. Just subscribe to Nature is Metal on Instagram, and you'll figure that out real quick. Now, someone had asked a great question that I now no longer remember. Oh, yes, back to Pro Capture. Thank you. You are in charge of keeping me on track, young man, whatever your name is. You're a delight. And so when the marine iguanas expel the excess salt, they literally like this, right? And even at 120 frames per second, I'm likely to get 5 frames with the salt. And sometimes it's a short spray, which looks a little more nasty, or it's when it all blows. So I kind of like a moderate, like I want to know it's coming out. So in case y'all can't tell, I operate at a high rev, right? Like I literally, when I go to bed, it's just like, I had a client asked if I had an on-off switch. I said, yeah, it's called sleep for about 5 hours a night. And then the rest, we wake up full frame, right? So for me, Pro Capture has to be for things I know I can't anticipate. But the more you learn what your subject's going to do, like how a toad or a frog will load up for a jump, or a snake is loading up for a strike. Wasps, like when you're photographing wasps, I'll get very close to wasps, and wasps will go about their behavior, but they have a look like, I'm getting ready to sting your ass. And you learn that look, then you just back up, okay, cool, dude, we're peace, bro, you know? And that'll help. So the more you learn your subject's behavior, the less I use Pro Capture. But if you're shooting with a friend, you know, you got a grasshopper and you want to jump, and you just say, hey, okay, see your foot right there now? Give it a little, oh, that's awesome. Just switching back and forth on the drive mode, which isn't a huge deal. But as you can tell, I'm all about speed, all right? I'm all about speed.
Did you say this one was 120 frames per second?
No, 50. 120 would just be silly, wouldn't it? 50, no, I know it sounds, yes, my frames per second. I only go to lower than 50 frames per second on wildlife photography if I have to be above ISO 12.8, because that's a limitation of my camera, okay?
Say that one more time.
So on the OM system, if you go to an ISO above 12,800, you can only go to 20 frames per second, only. Remember the day when you'd go 20 frames per second? Who needs that, right? Good questions, guys. I like this. All right. You don't always need fast shutter speeds, do you? So handheld, my long lens. When you want to blur certain things, start living in the 1/60th to 1/15th of a second range. So here, Sally Lightfoot crab in the Galapagos, the light had gotten harsh, but this particular one was on the backside of a rock where the rock was in shade, but the crab was in light, and I saw the waves, and I'm like, you know, that'd be a cool intentional blur. I mean, it's not an intentional blur by moving the camera, but with shutter speed. So if you have certain cooperative subjects, this is why when people take one picture of them, they go, I got it. Well, what did you get? A normal shot? You know, when you have a cooperative subject, think about those things that you don't normally get a chance to do, right? So this guy was just sitting there, and so as the wave, I probably took 200 or 300 shots because every wave looks different. And then I obsess over which one would be the best to share, right? So get creative with slower shutter speeds. So what if you mess up? It's digital. So many clients say, but what if it doesn't work? But you learn more from your failures than you do your successes. I mean, your successes, you just bask in your social media delight. I mean, I've learned that's not even true. I posted a picture of a jaguar with a baby capybara in its mouth, and it had like, when it got up to like 30-something thousand likes, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna read the comments. Don't do that. You didn't save it? Like, what kind of who raised you, you idiot? Like, wait, pardon me, Mr. Jaguar, I'd like to take this baby capybara out of your mouth. And the squealing didn't really bother me that much either. What?
What is this crab doing here?
It's just sitting there, just hanging onto the rock. Yeah, they live in the surf areas. Yeah. It's probably a millennial. They just isn't doing shit. No, I'm teasing. I don't care if your feelings are hurt. Just deal with it. I'm teasing. Okay, it's a retiree. I'm teasing. All right. Color black and white, color imagery is often just distracting, right? Black and white wildlife photography should be about emotion, intensity, contrast. We use black and white when we don't want color to be a distraction. So people ask me, do I shoot in black and white? No, I don't shoot in black and white, but I always shoot knowing when an image is probably going to go black and white. But I shoot a color raw file to capture as much data as possible, and knowing I'm going to go in. And I like, oh my God, this getting old is just brutal. If someone kicks me in the butt, the answer will probably pop out. What's the Nick collection? Black and white. Silver Effects Pro. Look there, it just popped up. Silver Effects Pro is what I like for black and white photography. But again, focusing on, this guy was probably halfway back in the group from where I'm sitting in the vehicle. And he had brush around him. It wouldn't have made, and all of a sudden I saw him, he was just laying there, and then he was like, oh, I bet you'd be delightful medium rare, you know? And I like, oh, look at those eyes, bam, 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 bam. Zoomed in nice and tight just to show, I mean, like, you know, when you start thinking you're a bad, you know, and then you look at this guy and you're like, yeah, dude, you're the king, aren't you? But again, we don't always have to include the whole animal. I mean, everything is, so when you're evaluating your images, so often you just find one that's sharp and kind of properly exposed and you share it and you're like, God, the head angle or the eye contact is weak. There are actually positions of an animal that makes them look weak. When you see a coyote in the snow, there are positions, so I like to look for positions of strength in animals when I'm culling images. There are certain steps where an animal, like remember the prudential elk, how it's up on the rock, like I know I'm old, I'm giving that away, right? And he looks powerful. But then sometimes when they're in snow or even just walking normally, a shoulder gives a bit and they look weak. They look like a weak broken, and then they step. So I'm looking for positions of strength, not because that's always the best image, but that just happens to be what I like. Yes, ma'am.
Talk about, I mean, since you shoot so many images, how do you have time to be here? You know, it was like, how do you get through things and
Because
looking for perfect or, oh, this is good.
no, I'm looking for perfect. It takes me forever to decide which image I'm going to share. And why am I here? Because I'm so busy. I got one life. And I'm going to kick the balls out of every day that I'm given. I'm going to suck the life out of that day. Because I grew up a child of two parents who taught. I never went on exquisite vacations. I looked at Nat Geo, Tex Parks and Wildlife. You know, I've had a cover for Parks and Wildlife, and I don't submit to me magazines because it's a pain in the butt and you don't get paid much. But why would I not do what makes my heart beat every day? Right? Why would I not do that? So you don't have to be in Africa, the Galapagos, or Iceland with me, although we'll have a fun time if you can handle it, right? But, like I have one client says, Lee, I'm not doing dinner tonight. I know, Katie, you go get some rest. I know, yeah. But, so I used to go on mission trips to Haiti. Every day they just wake up trying to survive, right? Their day isn't about, I get to go photograph a polar bear. Their day is the same fish I saw in the marketplace 3 days in a row. So you can imagine how much tolerance I have for Americans that bitch about stuff, right? So why would we not just get so pumped to get to share? So when I was a kid, I lived vicariously through the images of others. So why do I do this all the time and work my butt off? Because somewhere there's a 10-year-old that's never going to get to see what I see. And he's going to live vicariously looking at that magazine. And I'm going to use that gift to share that with them. Right? Right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? So when you piss and moan about missing the shot and you're all mopey, I had a guy on the Brazil trip. Oh my God, he was such a pain in the ass. He moped around because he had a big Canon 600. Well, he couldn't hold it in the friggin' boat. So he was a whiner, and he was a big fish in a little pond back in his camera club where he won a lot of competitions. And he hadn't heard of me, and then he started seeing my shots, and it just pissed him off. And he started being kind of rude and stuff. So I would say, oh, don't worry, I got that one. And the last dinner, he just had his ball cap hanging in front of his head. I hope he's not watching this. I don't care if he is or not. I'm not here to make friends, you know. Huh?
Which program did you say you like to use for culling?
Photo mechanic. It's like software on crack, man. Yeah. So we don't always have to shoot tight with long lenses. Sometimes the wildlife's cooperative. So here, there's our yacht, there's the sunset, Galapagos sea lion, down low on the beach. Or you know what, sometimes physically you can't get down low, right? But you're gonna flip out the screen and just hold it down low. With today's cameras, I mean, most of us have cameras that have some kind of a flip out screen, right? So, or kneel down, I mean, it's sand. You know, and one thing I tell my clients is if you need help up, just ask. Don't let your pride get in the way of getting an image. You know, now if you're out by yourself and you know you might not get up, well, that's a different consideration, isn't it? But also when you see beautiful scenes, think, how can I show this animal in its environment, in its habitat, right? So it doesn't always have to be long lens. Wow, that's the great thing about the Galapagos, you know. You can shoot with wide angle at times. And this is where I talk about exposing to the right. And some people say, well, you shoot micro four thirds, you have to. Well, we're collecting a data file. So the more data you capture, the better your image is, right? You don't cause any problems reducing an exposure, but we cause more problems when we increase an exposure somewhere, right? And this is where a Sony guy likes to talk about ISO and variance. I don't give a crap. I don't give a crap. Just capture as much data as you can. Yes, you probably have a little more leeway on, but you won't see me have an ad on Facebook about how to fix images. Like I always, if I'm in a smart-ass enough mood, I post on there, hey, maybe instead of going to a workshop to learn how to fix bad images, go on a workshop and learn how to capture great ones to start with. That is always fun reading on the comments after that. Sea lion? No, they'll come up on the beach and just, no, but they are flexible. I mean, they can take that head straight over their back and touch your hind end, which if you do that to me, I'm snapping in half, I'll tell you that right now. You know, I've gotten to where one of the things I like to do are 2 species images. Okay? I've gotten to where I really enjoy, and Brazil is the bomb for 2 species images. So here we've got a Yakari caiman down here at the bottom, and then the reflection of this Kakoi heron, beautiful backlit. But you know what? The beauty of this is I moved. Sometimes the best images is 4 inches this way or 2 inches that way, right? If he were over here, this image would stink. If he were up here, this image would stink. But this draws your eye, right? Look at that, right?
It also looks like a fish on the bottom.
He would probably take offense at that. I think he needs a safe, no, yeah. I don't know, but okay, I'll take your word for that. I'll go with that one. Yeah, Yakari caiman. So, spectacled duck. Incredibly hard duck to even see. They're usually at the base of glaciers and out in these giant lakes. And coming around the road, all of a sudden I see like 14. And I thought, well, and there's a guardrail and a steep slope and then a bank. And I thought, well, I didn't have clients with me, so I'm like, well, if I break an ankle, it's on me. And I started up high and I took a shot down low, which, you know, they're cool birds. And it was just, well, it's spectacled duck. Let me take a shot of them. And then I'm watching them and I put one leg over the guardrail. And they're doing their thing. Like, watch body language. It tells you everything, right? Watch your subject's body language. It will tell you. And they're just milling about. And I'm like, okay. Then you just, and you're like, okay. I'm like, they haven't flown off yet. And then I'm looking for the quiet way down. I go, oh my God, they're still there. Don't just keep working. I just stayed slow. Then I got down on the ground, and there was one kind of grass that was kind of itchy, you know, and I don't like itchy. And I'm like, oh my God, that's itchy. I got to get through. I kept crawling. I got right to the edge, and nobody flew. And I'm like, holy cow. This is why, for wildlife photography, I like my level gauge, because I'm laying flat with my head up, and eventually my neck's hurting. So I get at a weird angle, and what looked flat was wamper-jawed. That's a fancy technical term you learn at the University of Oklahoma, wamper-jawed. But with the level gauge on, I could hold my camera like this and look through the viewfinder wamper-jawed, but my horizon was level. Why is it important our horizon is level? And I know you can fix it in Lightroom. What happens if I fix it here? I can sometimes push an animal to the edge of the frame, right? Right? So, I get a lot of people, my viewfinder is busy. Almost everything I can have turned on is turned on. I can see through that to the image, but I like getting feedback. Boom, 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 boom. So if you don't have your level gauge turned on and you shoot handheld or even on a tripod, sometimes what looks level to you, you think, am I that far off, you know? So use those level gauges, okay? I mean, look at that gorgeous. Y'all see the pink speculum on that dude? And if this one's eye were closed, you wouldn't be seeing this picture. Right? The eye open. Again, body position. I like the dapple light because it just reveals, like sometimes you need a little mystery in your wildlife images. You don't always have to show the whole thing. Right? You don't always have to show the whole thing. Like sometimes, I call it emerging light. Sometimes when an animal's emerging out of the depths into the light. Beautiful. This image intrigues me. Some days I hate it and some days I love it. Okay, high-speed flash. I mean, it's clipped at a weird spot in the wing, and this guy's tail's clipped, and I threw this one in here because, I don't know, some days I love it and some days I hate it. Obviously, if you didn't have both birds, it's awful. I feel like some days I feel like this gap's a little too big, and I don't know. So sometimes just re-look at things with different eyes. Like you might sit here and go, oh my God, that sucks. Which would, I mean, it's sharp and it's properly exposed, but that doesn't mean it doesn't suck. But it's an odd picture, isn't it? Yeah, sometimes reevaluate. I deleted, so in the Amazon, we had pictures of, we had a peregrine being harassed by a kingbird, a tropical kingbird. But the sky was white. I deleted them. Don Wilson was with me, former president of the North American Nature Photography Association. So I deleted all my images of it because the sky was white. Last I heard, she was at the second round of one of the Photographer of the Year competitions. Well, who's the dumbass? You know, but I didn't like that image. That's okay, isn't it? That's the beauty of this art. Like, I don't know. I haven't shared this on social media, but I love black-chinned hummingbirds. I have up to 7 species in my yard in July and August out in West Texas. So sometimes you have to step back. And some things are very obvious, and some things take a little time. So I cull very quickly, and every now and then I'll be like, oh, I get a little delete heavy because my catalog's almost 1 million images, you know, and it gets all the time, all the time. Oh, with high-speed flash for hummingbirds, you put your aperture usually f14, f16. It doesn't vary because they're so small, they're so close. So we're stopping motion not with shutter speed. My shutter speed was 1/250th. You're stopping the motion with short duration flash, so you can't have ambient light or you get ghosting. Okay? You'll see a secondary move of the wing or the tails. So this is all flash. So when you're doing high-speed flash, one thing, see how there's only one? You have to clone out the other flashes or it looks like weird. Okay? So high-speed flash, it's all about aperture. Shutter speed is irrelevant. Just put on your fastest sync. And for high-speed setups, you know, obviously if we buy our name brand flashes, you know, Nikon, Canon, OM System, Sony, those are expensive, aren't they? I probably own 50 flashes, but I get the Godox manual only, $69. You could throw 2 of them and still be cheaper than buying a full brand name one because you're doing manual. So this is about the duration of the flash. For high-speed hummingbird work, generally 1/16 to 1/32. But with flash work, it's important to know, you know, that light falls off at double as you reduce your intensity. So those flashes, you know, if he's a hummingbird, the flashes are generally about here. Okay? It's a whole different beast. This is ironic. So crested caracara, which is a bird we see all the time in Texas, right? But this is in Brazil. I was the only one in the boat who stood up to take this picture. Because most photographers, oh, that's just a crested caracara. But it's backlit, and this is on the, you know, projectors like this, you can see it's not blown out. And I'm like, oh, I see it, and I'm like, oh my God, and you can see the bugs. And this is shot vertical. Here's another saying, you ready? Vertical, oh, some of y'all have heard me say this, haven't you? Vertical subjects often warrant a vertical composition. Or you can crop, yes, and throw away at least half your photo. Stop that crap. If you don't have a vertical, I always have a vertical grip on my wildlife cameras, boom, so it's easier to shoot vertical. Some of y'all probably haven't shot a vertical shot in a long time. You may crop that way. But shooting vertical, well, don't you clip sometimes? Yeah, I clip sometimes, but I just delete them. Okay? So nobody else even stood up because, well, it's a caracara. But, oh, my God, that's one of my favorite caracara shots, right? Backlit, beautiful. Beautiful. Don't let... I've had clients say, why are you photographing that grackle? I said, because I'm a professional wildlife photographer. I'm not a professional rare bird photographer. I'm not a professional first time I've seen it photographer. I'm not a professional photographer, right? So common subjects often can make some of the most beautiful images. We're in the pursuit of visually compelling images, okay? Not rare bird. Yeah, so yes, could I expand on a vertical subject often warrants a vertical composition. So a tall heron, right? When a great blue heron has its head up, it just flows naturally this way, right? But sometimes you see them stalking and that head gets extended. That's a horizontal subject, right? So when I'm shooting, oh crap. So I normally grip the lens foot. And I was a wrestler, so I've got a pretty good grip, so I'll often rotate it and I hold it like a machine gun, kind of like this, right? So I keep it loose sometimes so I can quickly go to a vertical position and shoot. So some birds, like peewees, certain species of birds, when they perch very vertical. Some even look like you just shoved a broom handle up their hind end, right? And they're perching on the branch. They're so vertical. Well, that often is best portrayed in a vertical composition. Whereas certain birds perch, like warblers, are almost always horizontal. And you'll see a couple images in here that I shoot vertical a lot on birds in flight. And you go, well, don't you clip them? Yes, I do, but I'm shooting 50 frames per second, and I'm in pursuit of the one. I delete images. A lot of people go, oh my God, that's awesome. Yeah, but I don't need 30 of them, right? So this bird, if this bird was, so it was doing this. So if we rewound this sequence to when the bird was more head on but flat, that wouldn't be a very good vertical image, or horizontal one probably, right? So when you're culling your images, so here's my obsession, okay? So the primaries are beautifully spread. There's no overlap. These are secondaries, right? These are rectruses or tail feathers. Look at how they're each distributed beautifully, right? There's a little overlap here, but I couldn't tell him to fix that. The alula, see this feather? This is called the alula. They're distinct. Every aspect of this bird is on display, right? The wings are relative, like if we drew a line, through here, it's not perfectly symmetrical, but it's close. But the implied motion of this bird works. I've had people say, well, isn't it too close? No, when I'm looking at negative space, I go from the head over, okay? So I feel like the visual balance on this image, the legs aren't crossed, the head angle is nice. The only thing I would love is a little catch light in its eye, but it's backlit, right? So I'm looking, I love a nice wing. I don't like wing positions where you see one wing, I don't like super flat unless sometimes the head, like a raptor's like glaring into you. And you'll learn your things over time. But for the vertical subjects, when you're composing, is there a tall tree? We'll see some more images on vertical, and I'll expand on that because that's a good question.
Where was the character?
Huh?
Where was the character?
Where was the character? That was in the Brazil's Pantanal, where I'm doing jaguars, giant anteaters, stuff like that. That it's my second favorite place after Zimbabwe and Zambia, which is Zimbabwe and Zambia. Sometimes your wildlife subject doesn't need to take up much of the frame. This is a tawny eagle at sunset over a swampy area in Zimbabwe. I go during the rainy season. So many people go during the dry season because the animals are all at the water hole, and your pictures all look alike, and the background's dirty brown. So I like going in the green season because there's so few people. My local guide's called King Richard. He's the guy that guarded cattle from lions when he was 7. His parents sent him out with one meal, like not any American parent, right? And so when there's not many people, I'll say, hey, King Richard, can I get out? No predators. Yeah, get out. You're my kind of photographer, baby. So he'll let me get out and walk around. And, this tawny eagle had just come in, and I saw the sun. I said, guys, we might get lucky. Bam, 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 bam. I already had my exposure set, just waiting for the sun to come out. Okay, so sometimes wildlife does not have to take up most of the frame. So get creative so that's one thing that frustrates me. When you see a bird and you take 20 shots and you say, I got it. You haven't scratched the surface, unless the bird flies off, right, or something else. But work a subject, get creative, think differently. So this is one of my favorite shots from our Peru trip. And I'll tell you, I'm in a wooden boat that's brutal on the knees, kneeling down. The waves are walking. This is a little island near the shore, but it catches the waves. It's brutal photography. I'm probably at 1/4000th of a second. But again, 50 frames per second, I had one. Otherwise, this bird, so these are Inca terns, one of my favorite birds, right? This is the red-legged cormorant down in Peru, and I love this beautiful pattern on the scapula region, right? That pattern. Look at the wing position. Not quite symmetrical, but close. Nice distinction between primaries. He's molting a little bit, which I griped at him for a little. But the colors, but if he were further left, there's too big a gap there. And if he were more right, he'd be overlapping. 20 frames per second, I don't have that image. Okay. Huh? Red-legged cormorant and Inca terns. Oh my God, Inca terns are gorgeous. They're like silk, like butter. Beautiful bird. But brutal photography conditions. I get clients will even just, and I'm like, no, keep going. You know, you don't get to go do this very often. And when you find black backgrounds with light hitting your subject in front, don't move. Right? Dark backgrounds, it's a little different take on the emerging light, but shoot the crap out of it. Because I'm in a boat doing, like if I played the sequence fast in photo mechanic, half y'all be throwing up because the boat's doing this. Boom, 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 right? So in Brazil, though, kingfishers are ridiculously cooperative. How many of y'all find kingfishers to be cooperative in America? Let me give you a hint. They don't, do they, right? They're tough. Sometimes you get them blind, you can work them. This bird, we're in the boat, 8 feet away, and I kept directing the boat guy to do this. We had different backgrounds and different lighting, and this bird, this is not cropped, okay? This is how I shot it. And again, notice dark background, what I call raking light, right? Like the light is raking across the front of it. If you went further to the left, you could shoot a backlit bird, but the background was ugly. The light was coming through trees. If you went further right, it was frontal light with green background, which was pretty, but it wasn't this, okay? So when you have a cooperative subject, should we? No, we don't need to move on. You don't get ring kingfishers, a giant kingfisher, being that cooperative often. And it's a vertical subject, often warrants a vertical composition. Not cropped, that's how I shot it. Yep. Catch light. He had been preening, and he just nasty little thing. Look, he got his, but if you get picky. Intentional camera movement. I love this shot. You know what? When you learn the rules of composition and everything, then you know how to break them, right? So until you know what looks good in images, you don't know how to break it. So here, the predominant subject's forward in the frame. If this were frozen, the visual balance would be off and it would feel like the image was tipping to the left. But because of the implied movement, your eyes just follow along, all right? If this were not an intentional camera movement image, it would suck, right? The bird would be too far forward in the frame. But this gives you, and it'd be, if the head were a little sharper, that'd be even better, but I'm okay with that level of movement. Your brain does a lot of interpreting in this image, doesn't it? I love this thing. I love that. Sandhill cranes. So at Bosque.
Is that 1/20th?
Huh?
1/20th or something?
No, this is probably 1/30th of a second. 1/20th is probably too fast. Oh, and obviously I crop for the panoramic. Now I do shoot multiple image panoramics of wildlife. I might have one in here. I have a jaguar on my smug mug and on my social media and stuff where I was so close to my long lens that even at 300 millimeters, I took 7 images of a jaguar laying on a branch and stitched them together. If your subject's still, why not? All right?
How different is that image edited as compared to raw? Is there a big difference?
If you expose correctly and you work in great light, oftentimes there's not much of a difference. Not really. I mean, now here's the key when I'm shooting in RAW. I shoot in camera, your color profile's in camera, right? So I shoot in camera muted so that when I look at the back of my camera, my histogram's as close to the RAW file as possible. Because if you're shooting in, if you're applying saturation, contrast, and color profiles, whether it be landscape or camera, color, vivid, whatever, it's affecting your histogram. So if you find that a lot of your raw files look nothing like your final image, well, you're either doing a ton of manipulation or you're shooting in crappy light sometimes, right? But there are some times where, and my images often look flat on the back of my camera because I'm shooting camera muted. Quit worrying about how your images look on the back of your camera. Like, depending on how much light is outside, the LCD is useless. Do you know what it's calibrated to? Anybody know what your LCD? Let me just answer that question. No, you do not. So if you try to shoot what looks good on the back, you're probably mostly underexposing, right? Most time when I show my clients a properly exposed, I'm not saying final exposure. I'm collecting data that will become an image. Do you see the difference? I'm not taking a picture, I'm capturing a data file that becomes an image. There's a difference in that mindset. Now, this looks a little too bright on here. So this is literally like I was sitting down to eat dinner or lunch, and this adorable little monkey, she's got her little baby there, right? And she's right by the pool, sitting in a tree. And the only background is a white divider between the pool and the restaurant. But if I shot at the right angle, you just think it's, you don't know that it's a divider. And I love this image, the tenderness. And again, this looks way blown out on here. I mean, it's very different on my screen. But it's a very tender, oh, the eyes on the baby. I mean, he's just happy, But again, watching your background all the time. And vertical subject often warrants vertical composition, right? But you got to watch those edges. Watch those edges. I clipped off her hands, but you don't even notice that in this particular image. Sometimes you might, but in this image, your eye doesn't even go that far. All right. So, again, dark backgrounds, beautiful subjects. In the Amazon, if you've got a long lens, you don't need a macro image for a lot of macro subjects, do you? Okay. Learning the minimum focus distance of your lens is helpful. All right. I don't want to put on a teleextender when I'm doing something, extension tubes, because I'm going to lose, long focus for birds and stuff. But a lot of our long wildlife lenses, you can shoot beautiful dragonflies and stuff. But what's so funny is on this particular trail, almost all the birds are way up high. I don't even take my lens for that. I take it for the dragonflies and the frogs and all the other stuff. So, again, set yourself up for success. So everybody, well, Lee, aren't you? No, it's just a upskirt shot of a bird. Who wants that, right? Right. So for me, I find that let me focus on what's going to give me a great image. Let me get the beautiful colors in the wings and stuff. So sometimes you can focus stack. I chose not to here. So just play around. By kneeling, I was able to get a better background. If I'd stood up, the ugly water would have been behind it. That's one thing. Yes, sir. The 150 to 400, so basically 300, 800, 4.5. But I can focus at 4.25 feet. So I can fill the frame with things like that, no problem. All right. And on here, this is a pretty easy background to separate. Sometimes you can even pull down. You got to be careful playing backgrounds. Don't create halos that are obvious, but sometimes you can even darken a background to help or lighten it to bring more contrast to the subject, right? One of the things I enjoy most is predator-prey interaction. I generally enjoy it when the predator is successful, okay? I'm a West Texan. I'm a carnivore by trade, so probably more like by birth. I will tell you, one of the things about macro, if you don't do it now, if you want to work on your patience, it will force you to learn to be more patient. And I get so many clients, like when I go to Panama, Costa Rica, or whatever, I go on night walks, and they'll be, oh, I'm tired, I'm not going out. Are you going out? And I'm like, what do you think? Well, yeah, of course I'm going out. Well, the beauty about doing night walks, not just in the tropics, but other places, everybody know the Jesus Christ lizard, the basilisk that can run on water? Well, you try to sneak up on one of those during the day. But at night, I can walk you up, and it can be sitting on a leaf right here, and I can put my lens 3 inches from it, and they just kind of, what you up to, bro? It's totally different at night. So many more creatures are active. But the thing that most people struggle with is fieldcraft is how to identify macro subjects, okay? How to identify them. And, here's what I tell you. Look for abnormalities in patterns. Okay? The way I find a lot of subjects is looking for abnormalities and patterns in nature, and that will jump out at you. So for macro photography, just go out and use a headlamp or a flashlight. The problem is with headlamps is it draws the bugs to your face. So if you're one of those that goes, oh, don't wear a headlamp. And don't smash things. There are things that if you smash them on your skin, they'll just stay calm and let it do its thing. Just look at that. Some of y'all are like, that sounds horrible. Well,
You know what kind of plant? This is very hairy.
no, I don't. But I'll tell you this. If you are ever out with me, you will never see me in shorts and a short sleeve shirt. And that's not just for the benefit of others. That is to protect myself from everything. Because there are so many things you brush up against. Whereas if you got long sleeve, if it doesn't touch your skin, it's often not a problem, right? Another thing I do if you're doing macro, Go to Home Depot or Lowe's. I said in a commercial for one of them in particular, but don't go to the gardening center. Their knee pads are soft. Go to the masonry section because they have hard ones, right? And I live in the desert where there's thorns and hard rocks. Don't get little tiny straps because they start to cut into your legs. Get the ones with the wide Velcro and put on knee pads. You go, well, we look ridiculous. Have you seen yourself out photographing? You're not impressing anybody with your attire usually, right? So I wear knee pads for a lot of types of photography when I'm on trip. Just to also save your pants from getting torn up all the time, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Is that with flash? 90% of my macro is flash with a custom diffuser. You know, I know where Emily, she's going to be mad at me, right? Most of the diffusers that are in store do not work well for flash, for macro. So like AK diffuser, MK diffuser, Cygnus Tech, they are designed, most macro people kind of do it yourself for a lot. So you need a good diffuser to spread that light evenly. Now, I will experiment with flashlights, backlighting, and all other kinds of things. Or like, I'll tell you what, the nano light, those little, the little tiny square ones. Like if I'm doing rattlesnakes with the night sky, I might set 2 or 3 of those up to represent the moon shining down on the snake and then get the rattlesnake with the Milky Way or whatever. So get creative with macro lighting, but a lot of times I like to use flash. I like to bring out the colors and the details. Yes?
Is this the same lens that you're using?
No, so in the OM system we have a 30, which is a 60 millimeter macro, 35 millimeter equivalent, a 60 millimeter macro, and a 90 millimeter macro. Because I shoot a lot of dangerous things, the more working space I have, the more I like it. So I have 2 of the 60s, but now I use the 90 a lot. It's also a little more, it's weather sealed as well, but it's also image stabilized. And I get 2 times life size just using the lens. If I put the doubler on, I'm at 8 times life size, all right, with autofocus. Now that's challenging photography. Make no mistake, just finding the subject can be tough, right? Can you picture me at 8 times life size? Dear God, help us all. So when you're doing macro, couple of tips, right? You want some fieldcraft tips? If you got a snake that's crawling, some of you are already horrified. If you want to, or you got a snake sitting, like anacondas or whatever, you know. I got bit by one 3 times in Peru, and I was all excited. And the local guy said, "You all right?" I'm like, "I'm fine. It's fun." And but if I got a snake sitting still, and you want that tongue, just give a gentle breeze, because it's going to smell. It's going to smell and put that tongue out. So I know a lot of y'all are going to go do this, right? I can already see on some faces like, he's crazier than we thought. But a blow, or if they start crawling and you go, they'll sometimes stop, right? They'll stop. So a blow will give you a little, right? Little tip, right? If you're going to shoot in a white box in your house, like a lot of my scenes, like tiger beetles move so fast, when they stop, it takes a minute for their eyesight to return to normal. Like, how cool would that be? Can you imagine all the shoplifting you'd be doing around town? You'd be like, no, I'm teasing. So tiger beetles are so fast. I'll put them in a setup, and I put like a medicine ball or something over them and let them get settled, and then you don't breathe out. So by the way, most macro photography, unless you're blowing a snake's mouth, you breathe through your nose down, because you've got to fly and you go, right? So breathe through your nose for macro photography unless you're blowing in a snake's face, right? Breathing through your nose down. But if you're working in a white box or a setup outside, get different size. This is where not the container store. Yeah, it might be the container store comes in so handy. I get different size Lazy Susans, and so then if the bug turns and you're not trying to move a bug, you just rotate. Because a lot of times, if you touch certain beetles, they play dead. They'll fall over and their legs are stiff. You don't have to wait 10 or 15 minutes. So, A, don't touch things that you don't know what they are. That includes me or other people, right? Second of all, because they might bite. Second of all, you've got to be careful if you don't know what something is. I saw a snake the other day in the Amazon, and I'm yelling for my local guide. And I don't know if you know this, but most Peruvians are terrified of their snakes. I'm like, dude. And they're like, I'm like, oh. And I was like, no, I don't know what it is. Man, I can't risk it, right? As bad as I wanted to photograph it. So you've got to be careful with insects, because sometimes their positioning won't be natural. So the less you can touch something, the better. Okay?
So I have a question.
Yes.
So for flash, it's not flash on the camera. It's
Yeah. No, that was flash on the camera. Most of it's flash on the camera, but I'll often take other lighting and use it off. Like if I'm not going to do flash, I might get creative, like replicate the moon, or sometimes I put a flashlight under a leaf to get a, deep in the jungle kind of feel to it, or backlight it. But you got to have certain subjects to do that with. Like a lot of the macro guys that do that all the time, you see they're working with Manuses and big things that are easier. Certain things are just so hard to work with because they're so jumpy, right? All right.
How do you replicate the moon?
Well, so you got to make sure your color balance or the light condition. So don't just go buy any flash or any light source, right? Like some of these little lume cubes or other little lights that you can adjust certain settings on will help, right? Because you don't want warm color for the moon. So, you would, if you think about it, like when I'm doing camera trapping, I try to set the flashes to shine down like the moon. You're not illuminating the bottom of the animal because moonlight doesn't do that. So whenever you're setting up a macro shot where you're trying to simulate the moon, think about your light should come primarily from one angle, right? Color, temperature, things that would make it seem like it's the moon. All right? I was working on the PBS Nature Special for Big Bend National Park area called the Wild Frontier Texas. Any of y'all see that? The Wild Frontier. Oh gosh, if you haven't watched that, you should. The Wild Frontier Texas. And we were going to film horny toad, horned lizard. I know. I grew up with horny toads. All right, that's what we call them. We wanted to get eating ants. And Skip, the cinematographer, lives here in Austin, and he had been setting up a scene, and we were up at my house, which is not an elevation that horned lizards normally found at. And I walked out and I said, "Oh, dude, you can't use that grass. They're never found that grass." So if you're going to try to get cute, like I had a lady one time post on a forum a picture of a hummingbird at a carnation. And I was in a particularly ornery mood, and I said, "Hey, listen, man, your Photoshop skills are awesome, but your naturalist skills are weak. Hummingbirds don't feed at carnations." And then that hurt some people's feelings, hummingbirds have wings. And I said, well, polar bears have legs, but you're not going to photograph them in Times Square. You know what I mean? So stop. Okay, we have a PSA announcement. Stop doing fake skies with raptors. It sucks. You take a 24 millimeter sky and you put it with a hawk, which means the hawk is either a foot from you, right? We know. You may fool the masses, but you're not fooling the people who know, and then you lose credibility. So stop doing sky. For the love of all that is holy, stop doing it. It doesn't. And then the bird's front lit and the sun sets behind it. It's like the magic sunset. Just stop. Well, but the sky wasn't pretty. Then don't take the picture. Or at least be honest. Those of us that know. Like a guy posted a picture on Friends of Big Bend National Park, and it's the Milky Way with the sun starting to come up in Santa Ana Canyon. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, that's beautiful." He was a professional, and I thought I'd be nice. It doesn't work. Nice does not work. And I said, "Hey man, listen, you're fooling them, but like if he contacted me and wanted to work for Wildside, I wouldn't give you a sniff. If you lie in your captioning, if you ever want to be a guide, and I know that you lie in your captioning, bye, no." And everybody's like, "Oh, when was this taken?" Like they could go out and see it. Like, oh my God. It's like the people on the Galapagos Islands that are on the yacht and they go, "So what elevation are we at?" And I go, about 8 feet, about 8 feet. 10, 8. No, I'm teasing you. We all do dumb crap like that at times, don't we? It makes for great stories. So, how am I on time, guys? I'm good. Y'all are like, "God almighty, he's not done yet," right? Sometimes you don't always need as much eye contact as you think, right? What I love about this image, there was a couple, there was a male and female coyote, and the female was just a little more skittish. The male trotted right by us, got about 10 feet away, took a dump, I think saying what he thought about our photography. But she went up in the rocks and made for such a cool image with the colors. So I saw her coming there, and I told my clients, wait till she gets to the rocks. And oh my gosh, sometimes you don't need as much eye contact as I'd often like, right? Patterns, colors, contrast, being patient. So some of my clients started to go get further ahead, and I go, no, this is a cool side shot. A head shot is not going to give you that same contrast, right? Yes, ma'am.
Looks like it has 2 tails.
No, there's the leg. That's the hind leg that's up on the rock, and then there's the tail. And then there's the other hind leg kicking up the snow. See, I like this position so the legs aren't overlapping. Usually, you want the distant leg in front. You don't want it cross-legged like this. This is more of a weak and position, right? So here's what I want you, if you're ever at a spot where there's moose, deer, elk, and they're walking slow, start get to where you time your shutter with the hind leg coming forward. Not this one. Unless they're flinging mud or prey and crap. Like giant river otters go up on a riverbank and they poo and they pee and then they do this all over themselves and everybody else around. It's a horribly disgusting habit. But so you might just photograph that all the time. But I like certain body positions, right? Notice, even though it's going down slope, it still looks like a strong position, doesn't it? Like she's in control, right? Yeah, the left. Yeah. I want that leg usually forward. Like if you've ever got a bison walking towards you, sometimes it almost looks like the legs are crossed. That's not a good shot. It looks weird, right? So I've had people hire me after camera competitions to do critiques. It's like, my God, you look at things I never even thought of. I'm like, welcome to the world of CDOs, right? If you are obsessive compulsive, you look at everything. Coyote. That's a coyote up. If you want magical, Yellowstone in winter with me is magical. Well, with me is challenging, but Yellowstone is magical. I mean, wolves, bison in the snow. Like you want it minus 10 or colder and the bison get all hoar-frosty and oh my God, that's awesome.
Do you do that on your own or with wild side?
Wild side. Yeah. Wild side. Yeah. Yep. And I do an OM only, and then I'm doing one. Do y'all know Lisa Langell, Tamron Image Master? Well, if you want to laugh and have a good time, Lisa and I, oh my God, yeah, we have a blast. That's all I'll say. If you're going to shoot rain, 1/60th of a second gives you nice, blurry rain. Okay? 1/60th is your magic f-stop for that. So this is the Cuban trogon, the national bird of Cuba. And I told my clients, all right, guys, 1/60th, and handheld, 1,000 millimeters. But that's when you get the nice looking rain. You can freeze it too, which is cool. But if you go longer, it just starts getting a little blurrier. And if you go too fast, there's nothing wrong with raindrops frozen. But if you want that nice rainy feel, 1/60th is your ticket. Okay? 1/60th and image stabilization and good posture, No chicken winging. Good posture. And a cooperative subject, baby. So what I do, yes, in vertical, a vertical subject often warrants a vertical composition. Look at that. Oh my God, I'm making mini-me's, which is terrifying. No, I'm teasing. So what you want is a good head angle, right? Like this one's kind of like that sexy, like, what's up, baby, And so when it looks away, okay. Oh my God, this one drives me nuts. Oh, the animal tracking lost it. Well, is it looking at you? No. Well, do you have it on eye detection? Yes. Then stop pressing the focus button. So usually when you let go of the focus button with detection, it'll put a box around the whole subject. So then you wait for a good head position, then you push focus again and start shooting, okay? Stop filling up the buffer. At 50 frames per second, I don't need a bunch of looking away from me shots, right? So good head position, a good angle. What I like if an animal's facing me like this, I kind of like a 1 to 5 degree tilt. I like to see either all of it, one eye, and none of the other one, or all of both. A partial sometimes looks okay, but it can look a little weird too, right? So when you're evaluating your pictures, you got 20 that are sharp and the head moves a little bit. Look for which one is most pleasing in the face then, right? Learn to discern. There's a new one, learn to discern. I'll have tattoos from head to toe before long with all this crap on it. So this one, just shoot, is when a client, we had a pronghorn running at us. How often do pronghorn run at you? But every now and then a lone male in West Texas, they just start running at random, okay? Maybe they're a little wired up like me. And it's coming right at us, and my client takes like 5 pictures. He starts looking in the back of his camera. I said, my God, man, just shoot. I'm shooting vertical, so when he's running, I'm clipping legs at times. Focus goes in and out, it hits the chest, hits the head, bam, 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 bam. He goes, oh, okay. I said, dude, how often do you think pronghorn? Do you think that happens all the time? Right? So just shoot, right? And then my other one is when you tell me, hey, should we go over there? If I think it's a dumb decision, I say, it's your tour, which means the price is the same whether you do something smart or stupid, right? And a client said, are you going to get that one on this hand? I said, no, I'm not getting that one on. But Cuban trogon. And so when trail guns are often not very cooperative, often up high in the canopy. So I normally don't like to shoot up. I'm shooting up a little bit because trail guns just aren't normally down low. So there are some times where you still got to shoot up a little bit. But I get so many clients that don't like overcast light. Man, you can shoot all day in overcast light. But learn to wait for the proper body position, and that will help minimize your culling. Yes, sir?
Are there situations where you use exposure bracketing? Or?
Are there situations I use exposure bracketing? No, because I'm manual, so I can, again, I have live highlight alerts, right? All I got to do is look for the red, baby. And then if I dial in, normally when I'm doing wildlife photography, I look at the amount of light, and I can generally guess where I need to be for light. So I set my shutter speed based on action all the time, unless I'm getting greedy with a perch bird or a sitting animal, right? Which means I generally want to be above 2,500 of a second or more for action, right? Fighting cats, running animals, whatever, right? Now, a peregrine falcon, 2,500 of a second, it just laughs at it like, nice try, buddy. But I set my ISO. My aperture usually is between 5.6 and 8, unless I have multiple species or something big really close and I need a little more depth of field. I focus stack birds if they're in other animals if they're sitting still, okay? So I set those things and then shutter speed. So with live highlight alerts, if I'm photographing an eagle, I quickly slow in case you can't tell, I move stuff very fast on my camera, okay? I'm like, so I slow my shutter speed down until I see the red. I dial it back a third or 2/3 of a stop. 2/3 of a stop if it's kind of a pale scene. And then I shoot. Well, if that eagle banks and suddenly I see white on the head or tail, one click and keep shooting. That's the beauty of live highlights. That is like if I were teaching a class on exposure to a mixed group of photographers, I teach OM system how to expose one way and everybody else. I know Sony has a zebra pattern, and that works if you've got big subjects, but on little things, they don't show up very well. Okay, I know I shot Sony for a while before I made a decision. So exposure with OM system, like I don't need meters. Spot metering is a stupid waste of time. I don't need it. I have live highlight alerts. Okay. All right. Again, not every subject has to be tight, but a lot of subjects need to be low. So we had these two great Arias in Brazil coming at us, dusty background, the horses, they've been running the horses behind. And you know, we see them and my clients just start shooting. I said, go to a knee, get low, right? Because a low perspective is a completely different view than if you're standing up shooting those birds. And then just perfect timing, boom. Both the males were kind of like doing their like, what are you doing, you know? So when they start doing that, just shoot because you can't control, you know, you try. I was waiting, but which one looks the best? I mean, notice the leg, like if I were picky, like, I want that, I'd like to have that bush out of the way. Now, check this out. See the Nakunda Nighthawk? He's like, you see me? Isn't that cool? That's the largest Nighthawk. They're really cool, right? But what I like about this one is the wing positions. The head angles are close. So if I got two birds, like I had flightless steamer ducks in Ushuaia down in Patagonia the other day. Well, the female's preening and the male's sitting there. Well, I'm waiting for the female to stop, and then I'm going to wait for both head angles to get similar. Or I like aposematic, opposite, looking right at each other, or I want them similar. I don't want like, because your eye goes, you know, it's like watching a Three Stooges film. You don't know where to go, right? Okay.
So I'm curious, this is real pretty with the tree in the background. I really like that element of the composition, the landscape.
Uh-huh.
But if it weren't there, if it was a less interesting background, if you will, would you have gone close to get, like you said, the personality of the
I did shoot some of the personality, but what I liked was the dusty background. So even if the trees weren't there, and this is way paler on here, so here my dust is kind of pink. Okay, this picture looks quite a bit different than up here. Some photographers think brighter's better, and they just need to be caned. A good old-fashioned caning would work sometimes, you know. This is, I think I stopped down around F10 because notice they're not quite at the same distance. And I'm not at 1,000 millimeters. I backed out, so F10, yeah, somewhere around that to give you that depth of field. So again, you know, changing your position, and sometimes it's not kneeling or standing, sometimes it's an awkward like this, right? So again, I shot on, when I had my big Canon 600, I shot on tripod 95% of the time. And now I almost never need any support for shooting, not for the camera, no, you know. And so the right position is so critical, and sometimes it's just a matter of inches or feet. You know, laying down, kneeling, laying back. I mean, that's a problem. What happens is people just start shooting and they get themselves in a spot, oh, I need to be here, and then if you move, you're going to spook the subject, right? Assess your images you're getting, like think fast and act fast but quietly, right?
Are these hostages?
No, Greater Rias. They're in Brazil.
How do you spell that?
R-H, Greater G-R-E, no, I'm teasing, R-H-E-A-S. Yeah, my accent, it's all right. I understand if you don't get my accent, believe me. Now, sometimes, and again, the colors are a little off here. This is a long-tailed meadowlark in El Calafate, Argentina. And I noticed in the background, I was at a different angle to get all green, but there was a painted curb along the bay. And I saw the red and I was like, oh my God, that'll contrast beautifully with that meadowlark. So I moved and I had to get on my tiptoes a little bit to put that red behind it. So sometimes man-made objects can contribute to the image. If I had told you what that was, you'd never guessed. But it was actually a big, you know, like a don't park here kind of red sidewalk. Worked out perfect, didn't it? So again, as I'm looking at a subject, you know, if you're a bird and I see it and I'm 100 yards away, the first thing I'm thinking of is what light angle do I want and what background do I want? Can I get over there? Can I get over here? Is it even conducive to walking over to try to photograph that particular subject, right? And, you know, nature's brutal. This is a dead Galapagos sea lion pup and a ghost crab. And the ghost crabs are often very spooky, but this one's feeding on the, you know, unfortunate sea lion. And this is way blown out up here on the screen. I gotta fix that thing. But certain animals are super spooky, but when animals are eating or preening or engage in mating behavior, that's when you can get closer, right? So if you've got a bird preening, it's occupied on that. So it goes and it turns its head away from you. Boom, 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 stop. It looks like, what's up, bro? And he goes, okay. Boom, 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 boom. Right? Take advantage. When birds are undergoing certain activities, they're much more conducive to getting close to, or mammals. And obviously, ethics means, and you know, ethics is so gray, and some people get nuts about certain ethics things. You know, again, the benevolence of the subject should always come. You're going to spook things. Our very presence in certain areas puts things on alert, but learn to read that body language. In Yellowstone in winter, I had my group off to the side, and there was your iPhone photography horde and a car, and the curve of the road was like this. And Chaz Glatzer and a Canon Explorer of Light, if you're a Canon shooter, you need to hop out there and follow Chaz. He's an awesome friend. And that little turd turns up at everything great that happens. It's unbelievable. And really good guy. I mean, really good guy. And so road curves like this, and I see his group on the far road, and I'm over on this side, and there's two bull moose, and there's willows on this side of the road, and they're probably 50 yards from the road. And I grew up going to dog shows, so I know I read body language on critters a lot since I was a little kid and went hunting and whatnot. And you could see the moose would be like this. They'd be like, and you'd see them kind of, and I told my group, I said, guys, I'm about to embarrass you. Oh, shit, I'm sorry. And you see the moose, they're just like, they clearly want to go, and here's all your iPhone photographers. And I said, guys, I'm sorry. I said, move out of the way. The moose wants to cross the road. And I thought, well, they're just going to, and they're like, oh, okay. And they hadn't walked 20 yards, and the moose started going. Read their body language, right? They will tell you what they're going to do. I have a picture from this past winter in Yellowstone. There's like 5 or 6 guys in snow camo, and they got their tripods and their giant lenses, and they're walking through snow trying to sneak up on a moose. Now, moose look stupid, but they're not. They're very wary. If you got hunted by wolves, you'd be in tune with nature too. And I said, and I had a group of little ladies with me. I said, they're like, oh well. I said, these morons are going to give us the shots of the day. I said, y'all just stand here right on this road. And those guys are in the willows. Crunch, crunch, carrying their, and even though they got white camo, you know, and there were 3 bull moose. One had already dropped its antlers. And those, guess what they did? They bumped those moose right at us. I mean, here they come, they're fighting. I can't even get them all in the frame. And then I'm shooting the moose and I go, oh my God, there goes a red fox running behind them. Bah, 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 bah. And then I have a pic, the moose started running. I said, ladies, we got to stay here. One of them started to go, I said, no, stay here. We got to give them a path. And I have a picture of the moose running with those guys carrying their tripods back out. One of my favorites. Patience wins out. If you were on private land and there were no other photographers, you still should do it differently. But patience wins out. Yes, ma'am. Galapagos sea lion. Mm-hmm. A dead one, formerly a Galapagos sea lion, soon to be recycled. Bosque del Apache area, you know, when you first start photographing, you often use front light because it's nice, it's warm, and it's easy to expose in. If you think about it, all of our camera systems are very dumb for exposure. They're only smart when F-16 rule applies. The sun's low in the sky, shining directly on your subject. Then your camera's like, watch me shine. You're like, yeah, let me move 20 feet over, you moron. And it's not going to get your exposure right. I don't care what the marketing people say. They're dumb otherwise. So, and John, just give me a hey Lee, shut up whenever it gets close, okay?
Well, I was going to give you the 10-minute more.
That's exactly what I need, thank you. So when you get to a spot of advancement in your photography, start looking for other lighting conditions, because front light can be very pretty, but can also be kind of flat, right? But whereas backlight, oh my gosh, and again, head and wing position, right? If the eye's covered, that's a delete for me, right? But I love water drops and backlit, all the bugs and the debris in the air and the water drops, right? It lights them up magically. Whereas front lighting, it wouldn't look quite like that, would it? Okay? A vertical subject often warrants a vertical composition. You're not going to believe me, that is not cropped and that is shot vertical. What are the odds? You think I could set that up? So I'd been photographing a greater rhea. It's jumping up to pull fruit off a tree. I see a kukui heron off to the side, and I know it's going to take off. And I'd been shooting this vertical because, boy, y'all, that was weak, my friends. That was weak and blah, blah, blah. 2 hours of me and you can't even talk, right? I love it. No. And so I'm following the kukui heron. I don't chimp. So later I'm uploading my images. I'm going through Photo Mechanic and I'm like, and I go fast. I go, doot. Holy crap. So again, remember my formula. Preparation plus skill times patience equals luck. Now, it wasn't luck I was shooting vertical. Wasn't luck that I had a proper shutter speed. Wasn't luck that I was using exposure, that I was using live highlights to nail exposure on a kukui. But it was incredible luck that the rhea is jumping at the same time that I photographed the wings up, because if they're down, I clip them. And if they're down, I don't think it contrasts as well with, you can't make that happen, can you? You cannot make that happen. That's crazy. But it isn't just luck. Everything else went into that. Yes, ma'am.
There's also a photo bomber there.
Well, no, that was my subject. I started photographing this bird off to the left, and I'm following it, and that just so happened.
So that in the background is actually jumping at that time?
It's jumping to grab, yeah, see how he's close? Yeah, because he can't fly, he's got to jump. I mean, what are the odds? Isn't that cool? That one was probably 5.6, 6.3. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Let me jump through to a couple of, okay, look at that. Isn't that cool? No, that's fish scales. Yeah, that's part of the fish. Okay, let's just go through and I'll think about some. Let me see if there's, here I don't mind laying in duck poop and crap a lot, but we were getting ready to go eat. So instead I flipped out my camera and I set my camera on the rock. Look at the difference. I mean, it looks like I'm in the water, doesn't it? I'm pretty close, right? So perspective can mean everything. Tell a story. This is near the end when the bison actually ended up drowning rather than being torn apart alive, which, believe me, if we had that choice, I bet you'd choose the drowning. But they're licking the blood. They'd been tugging on it, pulling on it. Alpha female, she was in control the whole time. But the whole key to that image, I had a series of probably 30 to 50 images. Look at the bison's eyes. Like he's like, yeah, this is not good, right?
How far were you away from the?
Oh, at that point, I'm probably only 50 yards from the bison. But a vertical subject often warrants. A horizontal image wouldn't be as powerful, would it? And 2 young ones, I darkened it. Vignetting can often bring, right attention to your subject. And also, here's a little tip. Go in, do a mask, select eyes, brighten, clarity, and contrast, and the eyes just go pow, baby. Big eyes, big eyes. Take the attention of the eyes in your post-processing. Big birds, big animals.
Clarity and what?
Clarity, contrast, and brighten them a little bit, but then you got to bring the punch back. Clarity is just, clarity's great. Clarity's not great on animals as a whole because it pushes your highlights and your blacks, your whites and your blacks further apart. But on small things, clarity can bring some serious punch. You don't always need the animal in the open, do you? I think if this image had both eyes showing, it wouldn't be as powerful. Like, this is like I'm ready to tear the crap out of something, right? Sometimes they're whimsical but powerful. So had I photographed the whole subject, they are sitting on the sign at Victoria Falls. And they're literally just from me to you, but if I just try to shoot the whole animal, I got bars and a silly tourist sign and everything, and they're like, and Mama started, and he's just like, has anybody ever started rubbing your head? Isn't that, you're like, oh God. I know, yeah, right? Am I wrong? You start, your eyes just kind of roll over. I love it. Shooting down does work at times. This water's in the shade, so the water's black. To the right, it's blue. And nailing your exposure is critical. If I underexposed, this blends with the water. If I overexpose, I lose the detail here, and I assure you, I nailed the exposure on this. So this is why getting it right with your exposure matters. You don't always have to have a clean bokeh. Right? That background, look at the contrast with the dead willow and the color on the moose. Isn't that a pretty combination? Even if you're at the pool in Hawaii, you can get some phenomenal shots. So there was a blooming Japanese maple, and if I just walked over, literally there were people in a pool at the right, and yes, with a long lens and people in bikinis and swimsuits, it's a little awkward, but I don't care. I'm there for the when it's a nay-nay, I'm pulling out the lens. That's all I'm saying. But look at that. I'm literally at a resort in Hawaii because the bird's accustomed to people. Backlit, man, bring out. So you want to nail your exposure here. We want to maximize detail, right? Data here. We don't want to blow out the highlights too much, dark background. That's on a waterfall at a little resort in Costa Rica. We good?
Let's give you a couple more minutes.
Okay.
A few more shots.
Let's do a couple more. Let's do some fun ones. Oh, there we go. Check that out. When you blow snot, that's pro cap, baby. So we do a deal. We have everybody, because we have people shooting all kinds of, systems. We get on the beach and we say, try to get this shot. You know how many people shooting something other than OM get that? No, because you got pro cap. Now I know Nikon has it now, but it's JPEG. They'll hopefully eventually get to RAW, but that's how you get that shot. So you want to find a background where it's going to stand out, right?
You use the one or the two? The one that autofocuses after?
I never use the two because I want autofocus. I'm a control freak. You probably don't need it. So there's at 120 frames per second, focus is locked at the first frame. At 50, it keeps changing. And I probably don't need it, but yeah, let's do one more cool one. Let's find one. Oh, here we go. Yeah, let me do this. Let's just, if you want to subscribe to my YouTube, and I'm just as encourageable on my YouTube channel as I am in real life. So if you like that, great. If you don't like it, you're not going to hurt my feelings. So follow me on Facebook at Lee Hoy. Don't follow me on Facebook at Lee Hoy Photography. Facebook screws you if you're a business. So those are the places to follow me. I actually do an OM system only workshops, and I do an OM system mentorship program, about 6 to 9 months long, so you master your system. So OM only workshops, Kenya safari, tigers in India, birds in flight in Florida and Alaska. I'm going to be doing more and more of those. And I do mix workshops too. If you want to join me on some, Churchill, I'm doing polar bears this fall. That's all systems. That'll be incredible. India, Yellowstone and Grand Teton, OM only. Panama, if you like macro. Oh my God, we go to one resort, stay there, you got a cabin. You can walk out of your cabin and 10 feet later, you're getting awesome. And we have both species of sloths from the deck. I mean, we bring the dart frogs onto the deck. So like if you want a bourbon in one hand and your camera in the other, baby. Okay. So Patagonia, I'll be doing in April 2025. Yellowstone in winter, freaking amazing. I love it. Okay. And, huh? OM system. OM just rebranded from Olympus. Olympus makes billions of medical imagery, and consumer cameras were like nothing to them.